can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
The Warriors sniffing it down. Curry, Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield for three. Mike Dunleavy has seen his team go on a 12-0 run. A quick burst. 2:25 remaining, and the Warriors' lead is 20. Oh, vintage Curry.
Buddy Hield for three. Steph Curry putting the Rockets away, and the Warriors winning a Game 7 in Houston as they get the job done and win to advance to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. 103-89 is the final. Warriors win the best-of-7 series 4-3, and they are on to Minneapolis, where they will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves in Game 1 coming up on Tuesday. We welcome you in. It's Dubs OT with JD, John Dickinson here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627. We got Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios, as always. And we got a couple of phone lines open here right off the top of the show. Also have the best chat in sports. Our Dubs OT devotees here ready to roll on this Sunday night where the Warriors finally able to vanquish the Houston Rockets in 7 games, and they win it 103-89 and led by Buddy Hield. Who had that on the bingo card? Led by Game 7 Buddy. Is Game 7 Buddy going to have to be a thing? Not only did Buddy Hield help the Warriors win Game 3 and Game 4, they helped them win Game 7. He helped them win 3 different games in this series. He wasn't very good in Game 5 and 6, and it got to the point where many, yours truly included, were wondering whether it was a good idea to still start Buddy Hield in tonight's Game 7. And I was someone that said, hey, ride or die with the Steph Curry, Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green lineup. Steve Kerr wanted no part of that. Steve Kerr says, nope, I'm sticking with Buddy Hield. And Buddy Hield was incredible. A record-setting night for Buddy Hield. 9 for 11 from 3, 12 of 15 overall. The Warriors sank 18 three-pointers in the game. They tripled the Rockets' output from three-point range. And big second quarter, big closeout in the fourth quarter. Things got a little dicey for the Dubs in quarter number 3, but they were able to withstand it. Some huge Stephen Curry buckets, some excellent defense in particular in the first half of this game as they held the Rockets under 40, 39 points for Houston in the first half. And Draymond Green, man-possessed, war daddy, whatever you want to call him, some key buckets from Jimmy Butler down the stretch as well to put the game away. The Warriors move on, and they will take on the Minnesota Timberwolves in the second round of the playoffs. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. As the phone lines light up when one person drops off, that's your cue to call and get in line here. Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios, so you can give him a call and chat with him before you chat with me. But Kyle, I just want to get just a quick thought here. I mean, it was Buddy, it was Steph, it was Draymond setting the tone defensively. At times I thought, and we'll get to the full rundown and recap and thoughts on everything, but there were times where the Warriors did look tentative, in particular in the third, fourth quarter. But as the game went on, or as the game started, rather, the Warriors were poised. That was my big early takeaway from the game, was the Warriors were exceptionally poised, and they were moving the ball, and they weren't tentative. They got a little tentative third, fourth quarter, I thought, until Steph and Jimmy Butler carried him home along with Buddy Hield, but they were not tentative at the start. And the Rockets maybe being a little tight in this first Game 7 with their squad together, their new young squad. And I thought the Warriors made Houston play from behind all night. And I thought that was something that was essential for them to get the the Game 7 victory and advance to the Western semifinals. With just your general thoughts. I mean, Buddy Hield, wow. I mean, nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, if you had Buddy Hield, Game 7 Buddy on your bingo card, kudos to you. But if I'm a Rockets fan and I'm down at the half and Steph Curry only has 3 points at halftime, I'm a little bit worried. But shout out to Steph, who led the team in rebounds with 10. And even though he wasn't scoring the ball well in the first half, he was doing all the little things that mattered as well.
Yeah, no, he was. And I thought, to be in that position, I think was something that you wouldn't have expected to be possible, especially when you look at the way the last 2 games played out. They overcame Jonathan Kuminga tonight as well. We're not going to belabor it. The Warriors did get the win, but man, was he bad in this game. Kevon Looney, I think, does get a nod, as Jokes on You points out in the chat. But the Warriors able to find a way to get the job done here. And again, playing from ahead. The rebounding battle, although the Warriors did end up getting out-rebounded 52-38, they held their own, especially early. And turnovers, another big part of the story in this game. The Warriors finished with 7 turnovers. 7 for the game. Now I'm going to let you in on something here. So our buddy Greg Silver, who's going to be joining us coming up here, we'll get to the phones in just a second. 808 KNBR. I'm coming to everybody on the lines immediately here as Dubs OT gets going. X, Mark, Greg, you guys are all less than 90 seconds away. Mike Silver, the elder Silver, texted me this afternoon. And, of course, Mike, a big Warriors head himself. And he gave me one key question. And I'm going to admit, I ended up being wrong, but it ended up being huge as it related to this game. Mike Silver asked me the question, do you think the Warriors can have 10 or fewer turnovers? Like, that was and I said, no chance. Can they keep it to 14, I think is exactly what I said. They end up with half of that. And under 10, which is unheard of, especially against a defense like the Rockets, and we've seen it throughout the course of this entire series now as it comes to a close. Incredible stuff in terms of taking care of the basketball. And while they did get out-rebounded, the rebounding margin didn't kill them, and the Warriors did not have a bunch of those pick-six style like turnovers that were going back the other way that ignite the Rockets. The Rockets really need and we've talked about it during the last couple of weeks. The Rockets need that to fuel them because in the half court, they just, other than Şengün, are really not a prolific half court team. Fred VanVleet ended up coming back down to earth a little bit. I mean, just a normal, solid, good Fred VanVleet game, 17 points. He was 3 for 6 from 3, still 50%, but it wasn't 8 of 11. Just a normal, good, solid Fred VanVleet game and not a spectacular one. And that's good enough for the Warriors to be able to prevail. Amen Thompson was really good. He got much more comfortable as the series went on, but the Warriors prevail and are advancing 4-3. All right, let's get to the phones. Let's get it started here. X in Sacramento is our tip-off caller tonight. Dubs OT with JD here. Warriors win in Houston, and they advance to the second round. What's going on tonight, X?
JD, my main man, he is ready to go. Boots on the ground, super reporter. How are we doing? The Dubs come away with a beautiful win tonight, baby. And you know what? I have to think all of the Steph Curry distraction. You want to say that Steph didn't score that much? That doesn't matter because he was garnering tons of attention tonight. And that's all that matters. So everybody else could score. And we are on our way to beat the
Minnesota Timberwolves?
The Minnesota Timberwolves.
Thanks, X. All right, man. X is having a good time out in Sacramento tonight, watching the Warrior game. Sunday fun day, I think, going on for our guy X here, our tip-off caller. You got to be having a good time to not recall who the next opponent is going to be. Our guy Will in Pacifica. Dig on 117. No tempo. Actually, that was Paul. This guy has no tempo. I think he had a little too much day back in Northern California. 808 KNBR X's line open, so jump in and join the conversation there. We'll get to the YouTube chat here as we roll on in this 8 o'clock hour as the Warriors get the win 103-89, the final. From X, we go to Mark in Napa joining the conversation here on Dubs OT. Hey, Mark.
Good evening, JD. Appointment radio for fans. Turning it on after the game is completed was a sweet feeling tonight. So excellent radio hygiene, too, with letting us know you were getting to the callers quickly, so thanks. My points were about believing in Steve Kerr. You know, like an egg was pretty much laid by some of the young guys tonight. Kuminga, Moses. They didn't take that many shots. They didn't play poorly, but they didn't play well. Podziemski's, though, like, I'm glad he kept shooting because when you create a good shot, it's got to get taken. But his shooting touch, something was off. That mid-range runner that he's so good at, and like he was trying to get his touch after the whistles by shooting. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. And one of them went down, and the Rockets weren't even trying to block it. I think they were trying to, that after the whistle block of the shot. Like, they were curious whether he was going to make them too. So I don't know. I hope he gets back in the groove, but at least the young guys were shooting and they were playing. Pods played a lot, but Kuminga and Moses were kind of MIA tonight a little bit. But I thought that was a great point about the turnovers. I guess once you mentioned it, it kind of clicked with me that, there really hadn't been many. And I tell you one thing.
It's good when you don't notice turnovers. When you notice turnovers, that means there's too many of them. It's kind of like the officials.
It didn't feel like Houston had a hell of a lot of them either, but I guess I don't know that. But it just thinking back, it didn't really feel that way.
No, they didn't. 11, but I'll jump in here real quick because I do think it was part, especially the first half of the game. The Rockets ended up with 11, which is, Steve Kerr will say 12 or fewer is basically an A grade for a game in terms of turnovers. If you can have 12 or fewer, the Warriors ended up with 7, so basically almost half that. So that's an A. I mean, that's an A plus grade. The Rockets had 11, but I will point this out: 18 points off of the turnovers for the Warriors. And that's been an area where the Warriors are just getting hammered. The points off turnovers, the types of turnovers were really putting the Warriors in trouble. And the Warriors won that battle tonight, 18-12. And that, along with Buddy and the three-point shooting, was really huge. They did not allow the Rockets to get out and get those, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, those pick six-like turnovers, to use an NFL term, that are just an automatic dunk or bucket on the other end.
And also that idea, the whole championship pedigree thing is well known, and it's well known for a reason. It's true. But I also have this inverse theory about how teams sometimes got to make it almost to the top and then get knocked down before they can really be mature enough as a unit to, like, take it to that next step. And, honestly, I don't think Memphis has gotten there. I don't think this helps Houston. Like, you got to get there sometimes and get beat before you're really ready for prime time. And I'll tell you one guy that was not ready for prime time tonight was Şengün. Like, from body language to, I don't know what his end numbers were. They were probably, I don't know if I don't know how many points he had, 17, 18 felt like, but, or maybe more.
Well, they made him work.
He just wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready for prime
He ended
time.
up, and no, I thought the Rockets, a bunch of their guys were a little tight. I think, Van Vliet came back down to earth in terms of, he was still good, but he wasn't exceptional. And Van Vliet had a couple of the Buddy Hield games basically in this series to help the Rockets win. But no, Şengün, 21 points, 14 boards, 5 assists, which ends up being a good line. But he was a minus in terms of the plus minus. But he also took 23 shots. So he ended up being a minus 12, which was tied for the worst on the Rockets for the game. But 23 shots when you're shooting primarily on the interior to get 21 points, that's a win for the Warriors, Mark.
Not efficient. And I guess I'll close out by saying, I don't know if you saw that thing on TV where Van Vliet was yelling at Şengün about waking up. I thought he was going to, I wonder if he said that kind of same thing to him when he was on the free throw line and missed those 2 late.
Crushing misses for the Rockets.
He might have said it a little more quietly, but I think that point was probably the through line. So, all right, nice talking to you. Go Warriors.
Great call, Mark. Appreciate it. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Dubs get the win, 103-89, the final in Houston, as it is John Dickinson with Dubs OT here on this Sunday night on the Sports Leader. From Mark, we go to Greg in San Jose next up here on Dubs OT. Hey, Greg, what's on your mind tonight?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. What do you got for us?
Oh, man. First things first, I hope Kerry Crowley is listening. Just wanted to shout out the 2012 Bellarmine Bells over St. Ignatius. Been waiting a while to say that. But let's talk about the Warriors, all right?
Sounds good.
First and foremost, number 7, Buddy Hield, showing up in Game 7. You'll love to see that. What a great game to just, have a great game.
Yeah, I mean, to come up in that, I mean, it was look, Buddy Hield is half the player Klay Thompson was, but that was a Klay Thompson type game. That was and Steve Kerr will mention this from time to time, Greg. Buddy Hield is again not the player that Steph or Klay is, but he does have the ability when he gets on a roll and gets hot to, for a short stretch, shoot it at a clip like they do. And, there are a few players in the NBA that can say that, but Buddy Hield is actually one of them. Like, when he gets on a heater, it looks like a Steph or a Klay type of a heater. I think Damian Lillard throughout his career is kind of another guy like that. And Buddy was just in the freaking zone right off the bat, and it made all the difference.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me that. I'm a Wazoo grad. I love Klay Thompson. Buddy will never come close to Klay Thompson or Steph, but what a great game to have a great game. And the second point I wanted to make, I mean, man, I've been yelling at my TV for Steve Kerr to put in Kevon Looney. You know what was happening down low. I was screaming for 6 games. Let's get a bigger body down low. Kevon Looney comes up huge, and I hope to see more of them when we go to Minnesota and we take down the Timberwolves. Thank you so much for taking my call. Go Bells. And shout out Kerry Crowley. Thank you.
All right, you got it, Greg. You can always shout out Kerry Crowley on my watch anytime. Love Kerry Crowley, a big member of the team here at KNBR. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Warriors win it 103-89 is the final. As we continue on here with our first segment, Warriors on to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves. That's going to begin on Tuesday night at Target Center. And no rest for the weary, but that's the Warriors and what they're going to have to deal with for having this series extended to 7 games. And again, I think a lot of that is on the Rockets. I know tonight's a night where Warrior fans are feeling good, and they're not going to have to take it from the Rockets fans. But I got to tell you, the Rockets, I think, earned over the course of the 7 games, I think they earned some respect from the Warriors with the way they competed and really never went down quietly. The Warriors were going to have to put them away, and they were unable to do it in Game 5 and Game 6. But tonight it was about the Warriors, and we asked the question, could they do it? Would they have enough energy to put the Rockets away? And I think the tone that was set early in the game by the veterans, and I think Mark's call there about the veterans and the fact that the veterans really did carry the day for the Warriors in a game where they had to, because they didn't get much from the young guys. I mean, Podziemski was the only guy really that had to play. It was basically a 5-man rotation in this game. I mean, when you look up at the end of the night, it was Steph 45 minutes. Think about that. Steph 45 minutes. You had Jimmy Butler 44 in a Game 7 after playing heavy minutes in Game 6. Buddy Hield ends up with 37. Podziemski had to play 39, but the bench minutes, Kuminga 7, Moody and Looney 11, and then everything else was mop-up time in the final minute, basically, when the game was clinched. Tonight was a night where the veterans got the job done in a big way, but got the job done early, which, again, never allowed for the crowd to feel like they were in the game and to keep the Rockets a little bit at arm's length. And you can force the Rockets to play from behind a little bit. They have to be more precise offensively. And I think what we've seen is that when the Warriors have been able to put them in that position, they haven't been able to execute more often than not over the long haul of a 7-game type of a series. All right, let's go to Tom next here on Dubs OT on this Sunday. Following Game 7, Warriors are on to the conference semifinals. Tom, you're on KNBR, the sports leader. What's up, Tom?
Hey, JD. What's up, man?
How you doing, bro? Good to hear from you.
Doing pretty good, yeah. That game was not as annoying as the last two games. You know, we like when we make shots, obviously. Buddy Hield, obviously, I'm surprised they put Kuminga out there. Well, I like Kuminga out there. I'm sure that you're kind of confused about what Steve's idea is with Kuminga, but I'm glad they got the win, and I was trying to see your thoughts about the rotation.
Yeah, I thought Steve did the best he could with what he had tonight. He didn't have Gary Payton the second. I thought Kuminga was terrible. I thought he made a great move on that first move, and then he missed the layup, and I think it completely threw him off for the rest of the time he was out there. I think with GP2 out, somebody had to play, and Steve chose to play Kuminga over others. I give Steve credit for getting him out of the game because he almost single-handedly allowed the Rockets to come back and tie the game or take the lead in the late third quarter. We'll see. I think he goes right back to not playing moving forward here against Minnesota if other players are available. But just because you're in that mode doesn't mean you're not going to get an opportunity. But, yeah, I thought, he made a greit first move, and then when he missed the layup, it was like the night ended. I mean, it was it might have been the best move of the game. I mean, honestly, it was unbelievable. But then he can't finish the layup, and then he missed another layup. So, again, it didn't hurt him, but he wasn't good tonight. But you can't literally play five. I mean, Steve, I think, came as close to basically playing five as possible. But without GP2, somebody had to get a few minutes, and tonight it was Kuminga. But I don't think Kuminga did anything tonight to put himself back into consideration unless there's an injury or two.
You think Quentin Post has lost minutes over the last game or two? Or
yeah. Well, I think tonight you saw it. I mean, he didn't play in the second half at all until the game was decided. He only played a couple of minutes at the beginning of the second quarter, and then Kerr went away from him. He only played 3 minutes. I do think Quentin Post is going to get another opportunity, now that this series is over, because again, you can't not play. You can't. You have to have 8 to 10 at least at the start of a series that are going to play some minutes. So I think Post. I'm not sure you're comparing it to Kuminga's situation, but I think all of the other young guys are going to get another opportunity.
I want to make sure somebody can make a three.
Yeah, no, I think Post is going to get back out there in the next series. I will say this. Go ahead, Tom.
He was making threes and winning games earlier in the series.
No doubt. I thought he got a little overwhelmed the last two games to where Steve had to really be careful with him. I think he's a tough young man. I think he tries to play tough. He tries to play physical. I think he got a little tentative because his shot wasn't going in the middle of this series, and I think his confidence was shot. I think he is going to get opportunities, though, in the next series. And the one thing I will say, as we keep the focus for now, at least on tonight, and we will toward the end of the show shift things toward the Minnesota series a little bit, but I'll give you a little note that I have that's something I've been thinking about the last four games of the Houston series, Tom. I feel like the Warriors, as good as the Timberwolves are, and the Timberwolves have many more good offensive players and two-way players compared to the Rockets. The Rockets have a lot of good defenders, but don't have the offense. The Warriors playing the Timberwolves after having played the Rockets purely from a defensive pressure standpoint, purely from a when they have the ball on offense standpoint, meaning the Warriors, I think going up against the Timberwolves after going up against the Rockets is going to feel like, whoo, this is easy compared to that because of the athleticism and the length and the size. And look, the Timberwolves have all of that in a different way, and will definitely score more against the Warriors than the Rockets are capable of. But I do think there's a benefit in facing such a staunch defense and going through it to where the game may come a little bit easier to the Warriors on that end beginning the next series. Even if the Timberwolves are, in my opinion, a much better team. I know they didn't have the record, but I think they're a much better team than the Rockets. So file that one away, Tom.
Yeah, I will. All right. Thanks, JD.
Appreciate it. All right, from Tom, let's go to Daniel in Pittsburgh, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Warriors win and advance in Game 7 tonight at Houston. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Daniel. Hey, JD, how are you doing?
I'm great, man. What's on your mind?
If Buddy Hield didn't have this game, do you think we would still have won the series, or you still would have been confident in the Warriors winning?
If Buddy Hield doesn't have this game, the Warriors are probably in big trouble in this game. If Buddy Hield has 16. Well, if Buddy Hield has 18 instead of 33, which would still be a good game, the Warriors might have lost 89-88 tonight.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But I 100% agree. But my second part is, how confident do you feel with the Warriors going into next round?
Not great. To be perfectly honest, I think the Timberwolves are a much better team than the Rockets. I think they have more scores, as we were just talking about. I think the fact that the Warriors went 7 and had to go 7 against the Rockets puts them in a position where fatigue is going to be a battle that they're going to have to face from the jump and throughout the entirety of the series, maybe up until game 5. If the Warriors can get to game 5, then they get a little bit of a mini break, and we'll explain. There is a quirk in the schedule for the second round, and we'll get into the reason why there's a quirk as well, because it's every other day, the first 5, beginning on Tuesday, the 6th, the 8th. It's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 10th, 12th, Monday, a week from tomorrow, game 4. Game 5 is on May 14th in Minnesota, so it's every other day through the first 5. And then game 6 is going to be on Sunday. So there's a break. There's a 3-day break between game 5 and game 6. And the reason there is because the Golden State Valkyries, are playing their inaugural game on May 16th. And so Chase Center is booked and locked for that. And they weren't going to have the Valkyries change the date or move their inaugural game. Again, their first regular season game ever on May the 16th. And so there was a lot of question. Why is the schedule for this series coming out, partially? And there was all this weird stuff with the schedule, depending upon if the Rockets won, if the Warriors won, all these different things. And the Valkyries was part of that equation, that they couldn't play game 6. So game 6 not only is it not Friday, it's not Saturday either. It's going to be on Sunday, 2 weeks from today. So the Warriors get a little break, and then game 7, if necessary, in Minnesota the following Tuesday. So again, there's going to be a lot of talking about, if the Warriors can get this thing to where it's 3-2, really either way, I think they're going to feel like they have a shot, because they are going to get 3 days off and go home in between game 5 and game 6, even if they're down 3-2. So another little tidbit we'll work in here as it relates to the next series, as we continue to focus on this series with the Warriors getting the win tonight over the Rockets. Daniel in Pittsburgh next here on these Sports Zero. No, we already got Daniel. All right, that was Daniel. From Daniel, we go to Danny in Vancouver. Up next, 808 KNBR. We got a couple of lines open. What's going on tonight, Danny? Wow.
Mr. John Dickinson. By the way, you have a very famous namesake. Did you know that, a founding father?
I do. He signed the Constitution.
Yeah, part of the Continental Congress too. So
yes, yeah, from Delaware. From Delaware, Danny.
Exactly. Hey, it was great to see you guys on Friday. It was just really enjoyable after that loss. It was kind of a nice palate cleanser. But tonight's game, I thought that, just a few thoughts, I thought that they were so, as you said, they were so poised when they came out. They were controlling the ball. They were moving it around. They hit some shots. That was a great first. No, actually the best first sign was Upchuck guaranteed Houston was going to win. So right away, I discounted, said, okay, so I think we have a chance. Joking. And sure. I didn't think they had a chance. I really thought the last 2 games they had just burnt out. Not so much because they didn't have the skill. I just think they were just running on empty. But
It reminded me of 2 years ago when they looked completely gassed in game 6 against the Kings, and the Kings went in there and ran them out, beat them worse than the Rockets did even in game 6. And it just left me thinking that whole weekend, do the Warriors have enough in the tank? And they ended up winning the game, and Steph went for 50. I mean, Buddy didn't go for 50, but it kind of felt like the Warriors needed somebody, either unforeseen or Steph or Jimmy, to just have a monster game. And for Buddy scoring 33 is kind of like Steph scoring 50, because you're still going to get numbers from Steph and you're still going to get numbers from Jimmy Butler. So, but the way that they played at the beginning, Danny, to bring it back to that, and I'll let you continue. The way they played at the beginning, they were not frazzled. They were patient. They were poised. They were not going to let the crowd get into the game at Toyota Center. And they set the tone, and then the shot making followed, at least from Buddy Hield, and it just allowed the guys that didn't have it to grind through it, and it allowed the guys like Steph in particular to work his way into the game, and Jimmy Butler to help him close it out late.
Well, no question. Without Buddy, we're not going to Minnesota. I don't think there's any question about that. Regarding the first half, they also played. Their defense was incredible. I noticed, it seemed the last few games, Houston was kind of scoring at ease, and Şengün was getting some easy hoops, and there was nothing easy tonight for Houston. They had a couple dry spells. I thought one of the keys to the game, and it's remarkable how often it happens, JD. I don't know if you'll agree, but when Buddy hit that shot at the buzzer, I just think it does something to the other team. And I know that key. I just feel like that was a sign, and also just was sort of a backbreaker for Houston.
I completely agree, Danny, because that's into the first quarter. The Warriors had played really well, and I'll tell you, one of the things I jotted down in the moment before Buddy hit the three is, wow, the Warriors have played pretty well, and they're going to be up one. And before I could even finish jotting it down, Buddy hits that 42-footer, and even being up 4 felt different. And I'm with you than being up 1, given as well as they played. It was almost a win for the Rockets that it was a 1-point game, to be honest, at the end of the first quarter. And then the Warriors come out in the second quarter, and they're able to extend the lead right after that. That was a huge momentum shift, Danny. I'm completely with you on that.
The other thing I noticed was that when the offense did run really cold, they played such good D. They just were able to withstand it. I mean, I just felt like there was never a time when I thought, oh, Houston's going to run them out of the building. I really felt Houston was working so hard to get their points, and I just thought we're going to hold on. Other thing I was thinking that Steph, he played a great all-around game, but I just had a feeling that eventually he would wear down the Rockets, where that Steph would start to take over in the quarter, and he did. And of course, he hit some dagger threes, which was amazing. So I'm so pleased. I didn't think they were gonna make it. I was so pleased with their effort tonight. I was very happy with Buddy. On a less than positive note, I think Kuminga is done for the series. I'm sorry to say that, and I hope it, I just don't see him. I think if they maybe get a few minutes here and there from Santos, maybe that's it. I don't see him. I don't know what happened to Gary Payton. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Payton came up ill, I guess, woke up this morning or middle of the night. He was just feeling terribly and couldn't even go to shoot around today. And so he was all but ruled out. It doesn't sound like it was a food poisoning type of a thing. It sounds like it was maybe something else. So, keep an eye, maybe what's going around, the next couple of days, if it was some kind of flu or something like that. But yeah, he was basically a no-go from the start, even though he wasn't ruled out until about 2 hours before.
If it's food poisoning, JD, they need to get a food tester.
I know.
On those trips. I was just ridiculous. I thought, you got to be kidding. Food poisoning? I mean, I know
it's bringing back. I don't know if you remember. Do you
Michael
remember?
Jordan?
Well, Michael Jordan for sure. And I wasn't even going to go back that far. But yeah, Michael Jordan in Utah in '97, and before Game 5 of that series that the Bulls ultimately won. That was the year Steve Kerr hit the game winner in Game 6 of that series after the Jordan flu game in Game 5. But there was also in my college days and my early days, the Kings Laker series in 2002, the famous Kings Laker series in the 2002 Western Finals. Kobe Bryant came up with a bad burger that somebody thought the hotel worker, he ate at the team hotel, and somebody thought a hotel worker put a little Visine. It was a Visine burger, and Kobe played through it, but was terrible and was sick the whole day in game 2, and the Kings ended up winning that game, and the Lakers went on to obviously win the series, but in that famous 7-game series. But yeah, it has been known to happen, or at least believed to have happened, Danny.
That last thing I'll say, JD, I'll let you go. I think that the Warriors should really try and win game 1. I know everything's kind of lined up against them, with the timing and so on. They're probably starting, but I just think their best chance to win the first 2 is the first game. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but I'm curious what you say. And if you're traveling,
go for it.
Sorry.
No, go for it. My thing is go for it. This is the playoffs. You don't punt on games. I understand when you're up 3-1. To me, when it's game 1, you play it out. The Timberwolves might be a little rusty early. Maybe you get in a flow. Maybe that's a night where you're hitting some shots and you try to win it. And then if you win that,
and they have nothing to lose the first game, right? Nothing to
totally.
Lose the game, right?
I'm with it. And to me, the goal for the next series, Danny, and we're going to spend, not a lot of time because it's going to start before you know it, but the goal, I think, is when you look at the schedule, and I was kind of explaining it while you were on hold, there's a weird gap, but the gap isn't until after game 5. So if you can be 3-2, even down 3-2 after 5, even down 3-2 after 5, I think you're in good shape because you get 3 days off before a home game in game 6. And then it's 1 day between game 6 and game 7 if you have to go back to Minnesota. So as crazy as it sounds, the pathway for the Warriors in the next series might be winning in 7 and getting it to be a deeper series to where they get a little bit of a breather.
Why not? Safe travels, JD. Thanks. Great show.
Thanks, Danny. Cheers. Appreciate you, as always. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Let's sneak in one more here before we break, and it's D in San Jose here on the Sports Leader. Hey, D.
Hey, JD, what's up, man? I spoke to you yesterday.
What's going on, brother? How are you? Good to hear from you.
It's so crazy that we spoke about how we went in the lineup, we went in and got Looney, we got those stops that we needed. I just feel like every person that plays on the team sometimes may not have to play that series because they may not be a matchup for that team. So we may have to switch it around. As far as like the Minnesota series, we won 3 out of the 4 games in regular season. You know what I mean? So
they did.
I think it'll be good for us. I think we could win this series. As far as Steph and Buddy Hield took the actions of Steph tonight. We knew that, like you said earlier. I heard you spoke to another person. You were talking about if Buddy Hield wasn't there, we probably would have lost that game. For sure we'd have lost. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think on this next matchup, because we got Rudy Gobert and we got Naz Reid, I think we need to start Looney on this one. Whether it's Pod or whether it's Buddy Hield, not going to start because we need that big man present. And you got to understand Rudy Gobert is a little bit more aggressive too. So I think post minutes is going to still be dropped down. You know what I mean? Because I just think he's not really a good fit for that Minnesota team. But as far as he may get a few minutes, we may need a couple outside threes. But other than that, we need to go ahead and go with who I was going to say? I'm sorry, I just went blank. Looney, and then we can just go ahead and put Kuminga in there. You got to understand, Kuminga didn't play too good because he was out for between 4th and 6th game. 4, 5, and 6. So once he get on the floor, he's rusty. So you got to go and give that guy some time to be able to, get back in the flow.
Yeah, I think Kuminga's out of time, D. I agree with a lot of the other stuff. I think he's going to have to work his way in, I think, at the expense of somebody else maybe not playing as well initially in the series or an injury, and he gets some minutes in that vein. The rest of it, I agree with you about, and I will say this, D, to your point on the season series. The season series is fascinating because the Warriors did win 3-1. It was all before the Jimmy Butler trade. So we have no Jimmy Butler Warriors tape or anything to look at. It was also very early in the season. And here's the other interesting thing. In the midst of the Warriors 3-12, so they had the 12-3 at the start, and then they were 3-12 right after that. They ended up 15-15 after 30 games. In the 3-12, D, 2 of the 3 were against the Timberwolves. in the time that the Warriors couldn't beat anybody and looked as awful as they did all year. 2 of those 3 wins were against the Timberwolves over that stretch. They won both games at Target Center in Minneapolis. They split at Chase. They went 2-0 at home, or on the road, actually, against the Timberwolves. Weird stuff, but I'm not sure how much we take from it because it was so early in the season. And let's be honest, the Timberwolves right now are playing exceptionally well. They are playing their best basketball of the season right now, which is a force for the Warriors to have to reckon with here.
Right. The only thing, I'm going to let you go in a minute. But
final thought, D.
Like I said about Kuminga, I just think that Kuminga will be able to play because you have Jay McDaniels in there. You know what I mean? You got all these guys with height. We can't keep playing small ball because all they're going to do is back us in and they're going to score. You know what I mean? So we're going to have some height out there. You know what I mean? And to go with Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean? But hey, nice talking to you, man. I appreciate it. We're gonna celebrate this win, move on to Minnesota, and we're gonna get that too, and hit the OKC if we possibly can.
All right. Thanks, D. Keep it rolling, man. Appreciate you down in the South Bay checking in here on Dubs OT. All right, 808 KNBR. Manny and Clayton will get to you on the other side. Let's take a timeout. 415-808-5627. We're also going to get into the YouTube chat as well. We got our guy Gene in the YouTube chat. We got Reed the Steed, Kevin T, Max Lopez, Robert Brown, all the regulars, bunch of newbies. We love it. We love the chat. It's the best chat in sports. And we continue on. Greg Silver is going to join us as well here in the 9 o'clock hour back in the Bay. And we'll take more of your phone calls, more of your texts, and we'll get into the YouTube chat. Kyle's clicks coming up. Warriors win 103-89. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Live from downtown.
Curry, way downtown. Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
This is where the daggers come out too. Stephen Curry rips the cords.
He was debating, I think, right there to do the sleeper there.
Yeah, Steph almost broke it out. Almost broke out the night at that point. Warriors were up, 17, I think, at that point. They would end up ahead by 20. And Steph not quite bringing it out, even though I think he probably could have. Warriors win at 103-89. They advance to the Western semifinals, which will begin in Minnesota on Tuesday as the Warriors win this series over the Rockets 4-3. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Dubs OT rolling on. We got Kyle Haar in our San Francisco studios. We're going to get to the phones here in just a second. Manny and Clayton, I'm coming to you real quick here, but we also here at the top of the 9 o'clock hour are joined by Greg Silver, of course, who you can hear Papa and Silver every day, 10 to 2, Monday through Friday here on The Leader. What's going on tonight, Greg? Buddy Hield for the win, just like everybody thought.
Yeah, what's going on? I know I was wrong about my post-Game 6 prediction. My pre-series prediction actually was Warriors in 7, but I thought the context counted. The Warriors looked tired. Game 6 was not it by any stretch. Steph scored 29, but still didn't look amazing. Jimmy Butler really showed up as the Robin. Outside of that, you really got nothing from your role players, and Draymond Green did not have his best game. So today was very different, and if you told me the path to victory was going to be Buddy Hield going for 33 points, I'd say, yeah, it might be heading in toward an offseason, but I got to tip my cap to Buddy Hield. He's one of the players I've probably been a little bit harder on for most of the year in my time getting to do this regularly on KNBR, and he absolutely shut everybody up tonight. With the threes, it was the timely buckets. It was the heat check shots. It was really just closing it out with the ones he didn't even need to necessarily hit at the end. And I don't want to blab too long because I know we got people on the lines who want to talk, and that's what the show's all about. So I'll just leave it at that for opening thoughts.
Yeah, let's get to it. And by the way, we're talking about your prediction or question. I mentioned it earlier. I'm not sure if you heard, but your dad actually texted me this afternoon with a question. And if you hadn't heard, I'll just repeat it real quick. The great Mike Silver, he said, can the Warriors get out of today with 10 or with under 10 turnovers? And I said, no chance. It might have been all caps with like 5 exclamation points. And I said, can they get out with 14? I'd say Steve would probably take 14 or less in terms of the turnovers. And we kind of went on in a conversation that the Warriors thought, some of the conversations I had today with people that the Warriors really believe they had found a way to be able to score more effectively against the Rockets zone. And we were kind of having a back and forth on that. But I'm not going to say your pops predicted it, Greg, but he did think it was a key. And the Warriors end up with 7 turnovers, which is just unheard of against this defense or against anybody. I mean, the Warriors start the game at the opening tip and have at least like 14 or 15.
Yeah, I mean, I know they had averaged 11 over the 3 wins they did have in the series coming into today, which is a really impressive number. So I would have said 11-12 is kind of that ballpark I would have looked at coming into this one. 14, I think, would have been a number which you probably could have gotten away with and still won, although would have been a nail biter and you would have needed a lot of help in other ways. But I mean, this really was just the simple things that we talk about all the time, which is why the Warriors won the game. Not turning the ball over, playing really strong defense. It wasn't rocket science. It wasn't some unpredictable thing. Yes, the Buddy Hield scoring that many points and shooting the way he did was a little bit crazy for a Game 7, and that's kind of why they say anything can happen in a Game 7. It's all its own self-contained 48-minute thing, but by and large, this is the Warriors' recipe to winning. It was not turning it over. It was strong defense, and really it was their big boys showing up because they didn't get a whole lot from the bench tonight, and that's not to say that someone like Looney didn't have meaningful contributions. He definitely did in that second quarter, but really this was the big boys stepping up when they had to.
All right, let's get back to the phones here. Manny and Clayton, as promised, joining the conversation here on Dubs OT. JD and now Greg Silver hanging out here as the Warriors get the win to advance, winning the series 4-3. Hey, Manny.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing well, man. What's on your mind?
Just wanted to say real quick, JD, in this new era of KNBR, I'm just very happy that you're a part of it. So don't mean to.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
And to have Larry Krueger back in Niners, thank you, KNBR. At any rate, to my point, just real quick, I just wanted to say, I know, Greg, you mentioned that Draymond didn't have the greatest game overall, but to me, I think Draymond set the tone for the whole game at the very beginning, both offensively and defensively, especially offensively, how he shook them with those threes, going to the rim a couple of times. He missed one, but nonetheless, that tenacity, I think, lit the fire for the rest of the younger Warriors.
Hey, I just want to jump in for a moment and say that I was talking about game six. Yes, game 7 tonight. I thought he actually was stellar outside of maybe the end of the first half when he got a little bit rushed and he had the technical foul. But outside of that, I thought Draymond Green played an A+ game because of what you just said, setting the tone.
Sorry, I missed the part of the game 6 reference. Sorry, but
no, you're all good, my man.
Just wanted to say that it was a remarkable game, and I really it was great to see him step up as such a leader, especially when Curry wasn't getting the looks, wasn't making them. When he did get the looks, and nonetheless, everybody else rose to that occasion. So I'll let you guys go. Continue on. Thank you, JD. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
No, thank you, Manny. We appreciate it. From Manny, 808 KNBR, let's go to Ricky in the Union City. Next up here on Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader. Hey, Ricky.
Yo, what's up, guys? What's up, man? Hey, go Dubs, man. Go Dubs, man. I just got to say, man. Hey, Buddy Hield, Curry with the 22 points, man. Yo, totally fucking stunned about that, man.
Whoa. Can't have that. Yep, he's done. Yep, sorry, man. Come on, Ricky. Come on, man.
I know we're excited, but come on.
Ricky had to go Will and Pacifica here on everybody and the folks on the stream and in the YouTube chat. Again, as I always say, they get the full show.
Well, I got to say this.
As people start to weigh in.
JD, I know that when I was in Kyle's position, we never had a playoff series to go through, but just in the times I've still been a part of the show, Kyle has to work way harder on the dump button than I ever did. I had life easy.
Yeah, Kyle brings out the guys that I think are just trying to see how quickly he can get to the button. Because I mean, we might need like an instant replay of like Kyle like springing into action as Kyle's got like 50 screens in there. I mean, Greg, you know the drill. I mean, there's like 50 screens in there. There's the control board, there's microphones, there's televisions. You got the phone ringing for people that are calling 808 KNBR behind you. I mean, there's a lot going on. You got the commercial computers to play the spots. You got all this. There's just a lot going on, man. You got the streaming computer that allows us to get on YouTube and Twitch and all that. So it's just like Kyle, there's that like moment where Kyle's like, it's like, he's like stunned. Oh, all right, I got to hit it.
But
yeah, Kyle, you nailed it.
It is weird because I will be doing like other things. Like right now, I had to repost our tweet that we're live.
Yeah, give us a bump.
Right. Yeah. So, but you know, I saw my headphones on, but right now I'm concentrating on the tweet. And all I hear is a bomb, and I'm like, whoa.
Can't do that. No, it was great reaction time and speed from Kyle Haar. 808 KNBR. So yeah, I mean, Greg, where you want to go from here? I mean, pick your takeaway. We kind of brought you in here middle of. We'll get to the chats coming up as promised. But I mean, Buddy's spectacular. We talked a little bit earlier about how poised the Warriors were at the beginning of the game, which I think set the tone. It was an absolute man-possessed Draymond game. It allowed Steph to not score, all of those things until really the second half. He had 3 at halftime. And then I thought tonight, I'll say this, Steph wasn't ever going to get to 50 tonight, but the way he attacked the Rockets defense was reminiscent of Game 7 in Sacramento 2 years ago. All of the drives and taking his man and using that to be able to punish the Rockets defense. When the Warriors won games in this series, they punished the Rockets at the rim at a much higher level than the games that they lost. When they lost, they were either too tentative, and we saw a little bit of that tonight, late third quarter, early fourth quarter, and it was kind of dicey. Are the Warriors going to have a real long drought here, and the Rockets are going to get in it? But Steph's attacking, in particular in the second half, I thought was massive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, the 7 turnovers with the way that Steph was defended and essentially going against like a 1-box for this whole series and how quickly he would get double teamed. I mean, yeah, I know he wasn't shooting it well to start, and he actually got a couple of good looks that didn't fall, but just the general attacking and the way that they were able to break the zone without him. I know Pajemski is someone else who didn't have his best shooting game necessarily, but you really needed him to be another ball handler with how much they were trying to get it out of Steph's hands, and he could kind of facilitate too. Buddy was the one doing the shot making and the big play making, and Jimmy, as playoff Jimmy kind of does, sort of ramps it up a little bit more as the game goes on, but made a couple of threes where they never look that good out of his hands or that pretty, but just finds a way to do it when the lights are the brightest. And so I would just say, as kind of a larger takeaway, yeah, it was the obvious of not turning it over and just playing really strong half-court defense. But I also do think that, for as much as he can get crushed with bad losses, Steve Kerr was fantastic tonight as well. And another reminder of another person that has been doing this for a long time. Now, I don't know if Steve would have predicted 33 out of Buddy necessarily, but you kind of saw tonight where the trust with Kevon Looney, he didn't play a ton of minutes, but that was someone he really leaned on when Draymond wasn't out there.
It had to be Looney over Post tonight. Post,
yes.
I know he was out there for like a minute or two at the beginning of the second quarter, but Post didn't have it. And having, Looney is just a calming influence on this Warriors team, and he's trusted because he's been a part of multiple championships.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, it showed tonight. And I just think also Steve did a great job maximizing Steph's rest without leaving him off the floor for too many possessions. And the first quarter really stuck out to me in that regard, where there was a timeout. He took him out. Then there were a couple possessions that did not go well, and it went from 17-13 to 17-17 real quick. Called timeout again, put Steph back in the game, and it was 56 seconds of play. But between the two timeouts, Steph was still able to get a decent chunk. And just throughout the game, it was a lot of those little nuances of just knowing your players, communicating with your vets, and obviously the players are the ones that executed down the stretch. But I think Steve had a great night as well, in addition to that starting lineup at Looney.
He had a great night tonight, and called timeout twice once to get Jimmy in, as you mentioned, to get Steph in, and also twice he had to get Kuminga out before Kuminga could wreck the game almost single-handedly. We're not going to belabor that, but my goodness. And GP2 was sick, but I don't know how anybody could watch it again. I mean, this is like the fourth time I feel like I've said this in this series. I don't know how anybody could watch Kuminga and think that he should get any more time unless there's an injury or it's a blowout type situation where you're basically just throwing somebody in the game to see if they can provide a spark because the game's basically decided. Again, he was not the only young player that didn't play well, all of that, but he was by far the worst.
Quentin Post did not need to play more than that one shift either.
And Quentin Post played less than so. It just, I mean, wow. I don't see how anybody could look at this and say, well, they might need it, but he matches up with Minnesota. He matched up better than anybody with Houston. And he was absolutely terrible aside from a couple of buckets. Was it in game 3 or game 4 in this early part of I think it was game 3
Three without Jimmy.
early part of the third quarter there as the Warriors were kind of taking control and coming back in that game. Let's get Carlos in Daly City next here on Dubs OT. Hey, Carlos.
Hey, JD. Thanks for taking my call, man. I just want to make 3 quick points. One, as you guys have been talking, I think Kerr deserves a big applaud today. I think he just handled the game perfectly. The way that he kind of trusted Buddy Hield, I feel like he's been building him up the whole season. I feel like people were throughout the season mad at Kerr for giving Hield so many minutes, but I think it all came worth it today. It kind of showed how he built him up and trusted him at the right time. And number 2, you want to mention how I feel like Kerr has always gotten a lot of hate for, quote, not playing young guys or hating young guys or whatever. I think this year he proved by giving QP a lot of minutes, a lot of run time, that if he trusts you and you look like you know what you're doing out there, that he's going to play you. And number 3, so tired of the Kuminga talk. I wish they would have traded him at some point this year. I do not know what people see in him. He looks lost out there. I know he had a good stretch during the season, but if he doesn't have an open run, or if he's not going against a inferior interior defender, he does not know what to do with the ball. He's always looking lost. But yeah, that's it, man. Thanks for taking my call. That was a great game. Let's go Warriors.
Yeah, great game, great win for the Dubs, and on to Minnesota, which we'll spend a little bit of time talking about here, I guess, on Dubs OT at some point. But we continue to react to this one here. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Again, a couple of lines open if you want to jump in. Andis Brown in the chat. I wanted to just one quick one on Kuminga, and I'm kind of with Carlos, and we fight that battle every night. Greg, at least I do. But Andis saying a lot of ex-NBA guys and analysts cape for Kuminga, says Kerr should be playing him. I don't think they watch the Warriors close enough. I think that's true in part. I also think, again, I mentioned this, and I'm not going to go crazy about it the other night, but there are a lot of people that, I don't know, like he's just overrated. I mean, we've talked about it for a year and a half. Nobody can have 5 or 6 good games in the media's eyes feel like 2 seasons like Jonathan Kuminga, and his bad games, unless it's a night like tonight where it's blatant and glaring and on a major stage, his bad games are even acknowledged, it feels like, a lot of the time. And so he just kind of lives in his own little universe where whenever he doesn't play a lot and the Warriors don't play well, it's more Kuminga always would have been better. And, he kind of gets to live in this world where the idea of what he can provide is always greater than what he actually consistently provides. And again, I'm not even really crushing Kerr for giving him a few minutes tonight because GP2 was out. If GP2 had been available, I don't think he would have come off the bench at all, except when the game was decided in the final minute. But, this is more than rusty. This is more than missed 2 months. This is he came back to a completely different team and he doesn't fit, and his confidence is shaken, which is fair. But in addition to his confidence being shaken, I think it's fair to question at this point whether he even wants to be here, and be a member of the Golden State Warriors moving forward. I don't think he does. And you know what? That's okay. As Diggum117 put it, and I'll paraphrase, he needs a fresh start, and the Warriors need a fresh start. To Carlos's point, and I agree with this. He can be a good player, but he has to think too much. Like, he needs a fresh start. The Warriors need a fresh start off of him, and the Warriors also need to try and find some way to use his sign and trade slot to be able to bring back a player that can actually help them get closer to winning an NBA title next season.
No, I'm fully with that, and I won't belabor it too much either tonight. I just agree with the caller's point on feeling a little bit tired of the Kuminga conversation personally, and it's nothing to do with him or the fact that I don't think he can be successful in the NBA. But at this point, the Band-Aid has just got to be ripped off, and it's time. It's very obvious that he does not fit with what the Warriors are trying to do. I don't think he is a bad kid. I don't think he doesn't have talent. I don't think he can't have a success on another team and another organization. But this whole thing has just run its course after 4 years now. And I think for his sake and the Warriors' sake, it's time for them to part ways in this offseason, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's – and again, maybe he ends up in a little bit in the Timberwolves series. Maybe he doesn't. I wouldn't certainly anticipate it at this particular point in time. All right, let's get to some Kyle's clicks. 808 KNBR. Kyle's working hard on the phones as well, as we can see here. Dubs OT with JD. Warriors win at 103-89. Greg Silver on hand here, as well as the Warriors on to Minnesota and the quick turnaround. I saw a lot of people complaining just briefly about the schedule. Look, you go 7, you're getting every other day. Like, that's just the way it is. And honestly, typically, you don't get the break in between Game 5 and Game 6. And Greg, again, I'm not sure if you heard, it's the team with the banner, which is over your left shoulder there, that is the reason for the weird schedule quirk. And I kind of got wind of this a few days ago. Game 6 would have slotted into May 16th on Friday, but that has long now been marked as the Golden State Valkyries' inaugural game, their first regular season game in franchise history at Chase Center on May the 16th, the Friday. And so because of that, there was all of this. If the Rockets had won tonight, the Rockets would be playing their Game 6 in Minnesota on that Friday night. Point blank, bottom line, end of story. But because of the Valks, Chase Center unavailable. And so odd that it ends up being 2 extra days or 2 extra days or an extra, they don't play Friday. They play Wednesday, then they don't play Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. They play Sunday. Maybe that's going to be an afternoon game Sunday. And there'd be a couple of days off before that one. But it pushes the Western Conference finals back a day as well, back a couple of days as well, that were set to start on that Tuesday. That would now potentially be a Game 7. So I think there could be a potential move up for the Western Finals if it ends. But the Valkyries, Greg, are the reason that there is a weird quirk at the end of this next series if the Warriors are fortunate enough to force themselves into being able to play a Game 6.
I knew having this banner on the bookshelf attached to it and the backdrop was going to pay some use for Dubs OT at some point. So I'm glad that we made it there.
Back up, Kyle, by the way. Sorry for interrupting you, Greg, but I go ahead.
Oh, no, I want to see the comment too. Ooh, greatest postseason coach in the history of the Bay Area. Well, I got to say this. In my lifetime, I was going to say in my lifetime, absolutely. Boch. You get me with Boch. Yeah. Wow, that's a good conversation. Because I was going to say I didn't get to witness Walsh, but Boch is a really good comparison. That's a fight. That's an argument.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's got 4, but he had some teams that were no doubters, where Boch never really had a no doubter team. And Boch, man, won every big moment in the 3 that they won. And I know Boch has 4 now, but 3 with the Giants. We're counting Bay Area only. Rusty Nail, Bill Walsh, John Madden, Steve Kerr. John Madden can be in the conversation there too, although again doesn't have the championships at the level of Walsh, who ended up with 3. Seifert ended up with 2 after Bill Walsh retired, and then you've got Bochy with 3 in the Bay, Steve with 4, but I think Steve had, I mean, the Niners were pretty dominant, but Steve I think had the most dominant talent level. That's between Steve and Walsh. So do you give Bochy extra credit for that? Oh, it's a good question. Maybe you guys can talk about that tomorrow on the Papa Show.
Yeah, I was going to say, they'll get Papa going for sure.
That will get Papa going. Bookmark that one. Do a little show prep tonight, Greg.
Walsh is an interesting one because he revolutionized offense in such a way to where every single coach copied him for 3 decades thereafter and still does to this day.
Still do.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's a great discussion. Good comment.
That's a good.
That might be comment of the night.
Well, yeah, it might be. It might be comment of the night. Digum 117 Kerr has won 4 chips. He leaves when he's ready, not when fans are. Well, yeah, I think that was already going to be the case as it relates to when Steve Kerr's time is going to be up. Breathe well. How many coaches would even have the stones to start Heald? I wouldn't have. I would have gone back to Moses Moody. I said as much on this show on Saturday. Or wait, no, it was on this show again, I get my days mixed up. Friday night, as we did Dubs OT at Harmonic, I said as much. I would have gone back to that. But Steve stuck with them, and it paid huge dividends. And I don't think a lot of coaches after Buddy had played as poorly as he did. How about this note? And we got fun with numbers coming up. But this via Elias, Greg. I don't know if you saw this. Buddy Hield's 33 points, and we're all going to get a chuckle. Everybody in the chat, get ready to laugh. And our guy Mark we'll get to on the phones. Buddy Hield's 33 points are the most by a player following a scoreless game in a single postseason in NBA history. So the most points ever after a goose egg. That's an NBA record. Eddie Johnson and Tim Perry both in 1992 scored 31 after a goose egg. Eddie Johnson, a longtime bench player with a lot of different teams, including the Rockets at one point, but Phoenix and Seattle and Sacramento early in it. But anyway, 31 was the prior number. 30. So the most points ever scored, Fozzie, that's such a Buddy Hield stat. Most points ever scored in an NBA playoff game after scoring 0. Buddy Hield tonight. Greg, I don't hear you. You muted yourself, Greg.
Oh, I did. You're right. I was shuffling things around at the table. I was going to say Steph went 0-33 over the course of 2 different halves in that same building, as we know very well. But that is a very, very Buddy Hield stat. To Fozzie's point, I mean, I can't say it any better myself. That is the most Buddy Hield stat possible.
It truly is. 808 KNBR. Let's go to Mark in Sausalito next year on Dubs OT with JD and Greg, and then we'll get to our guy Gene. Good to see Gene again here. But let's go to Mark first on the Sports Leader.
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Loud and clear. What's on your mind tonight, Mark?
Yeah, it was just interesting. I'm on the road, and so I had to listen to the game through the Houston play-by-play team. And it was after the game, they went on and on. It was just like this self-flagellation experience. And it's kind of like watching your neighbor's house burn down. You feel bad, but you can't look away, And they were just going on and on about Curry just destroying them for a decade. And they listed the 5 series that the Warriors have taken the Rockets out of the playoffs, and they said, "Oh, this game's over. It's done." The Warriors won after Curry hit his 3, and the Warriors had 91. I was just like, "This is so strange," because you're used to listening to it, from our side, and you're like, "Oh yeah, it's great." And I don't know. I kind of felt bad for the Rockets, man.
Yeah, well, I think you are probably you're in a very small club tonight, Mark, in the Bay.
No
but
kidding.
It is interesting.
They said that the Warriors are going to get crushed by the Timberwolves. They're not really very good.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to say that, I think, over the next couple of days and through this week, especially if Game 1 gets kind of ugly. And look, Game 1 or Game 2 have the potential to get ugly, obviously with the rest type situation. But no, it is interesting to hear the other perspectives. And I think, you're right. I mean, imagine being a fan. Think of it this way, Mark, because this is, and I'm sure the folks on the broadcast were getting at it. We were talking about how the Warriors beat them in 15. They beat them in 16. Then they beat them in 18 in the conference finals, one of the best regular season teams the Rockets have ever had in 18. They beat them in the conference finals, Game 7. They beat them in 19 in Game 6 after Kevin Durant gets hurt for the Warriors in Game 5. They end their season at Toyota Center in Houston that night. And then the Rockets, they made the playoffs in 2020, Mark, in the bubble. They won a round, and they completely rebuilt. Chris Paul gone, James Harden gone, all those guys that were on, Mike D'Antoni gone. Like, they completely rebuilt. New coach, new players. They tanked. They had great draft picks. They have this completely new young team, Mark. and they finally get to the playoffs. They win 52 games after 4 years of basically stinking and trying to get good again. And Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and, and Steve Kerr are waiting for him still. And then they knock this version out. I mean, it really is an odd existence when you think about it from that. Imagine being a fan of a team that had so many good teams, couldn't get over the hump. They're bad for 4 years. They completely rebuild. They do it pretty well. And then those same three guys knock you out.
That's exactly what I said. We rebuilt it. We're great. And now we have to trade somebody. And it's going to be painful. I was like, man, you guys are panicking.
Mark, thanks for the call, man. And they are going to be at all the trade discussions for Durant or Giannis or whoever here coming up in the offseason. But we'll save that for liftoff OT or whatever they call it in Houston. But yeah, I mean, the Warriors have just lived to torment the Rockets. Both of these iterations, Greg.
Yeah, to be honest, I do feel for Houston in the sense that this is a rebuilt team that has not been to the playoffs since 2020. They haven't played a home playoff game in Houston since 2019. We know how that series ended with Kevin Durant going down and the Warriors going into that building in Game 6. I mean, just about every which way you could imagine it. And I said this to Greg Papa. I think my Silver Linings playlist after Game 1 was Rocket Man by Elton John, just making the simple statement that is any fan base as tortured by Steph Curry in particular as the Houston Rockets? I think Oklahoma City can be in that conversation, especially when you consider that context of them coming back from 3-1 and then Kevin Durant leaving to go to the Warriors and winning a couple championships. But, I mean, coming back from 3-1 this time around for Houston wasn't going to make up for everything that's happened, but it would have been a little bit of a relief. Then you win Game 5, but the Warriors kind of punt on that game. You win Game 6, and all of a sudden it's like, the Warriors look old. They're tired. Now they got to go to Houston. I don't know what they have left. And then that happens, and it's got to be just pushing you to insanity at a certain point. But guess what? Their guys didn't show up to the degree that the Warriors guys did. Game 6 was very much the opposite. You would think that because they're at home, you would get the best out of Buddy and Podziemski and GP2 and Moody, and you didn't. And then this time around, you get 33-point Buddy Hield. You get a plays his face off and doesn't back down Brandon Podziemski, even if he wasn't hitting shots. You got Looney finding ways to turn back the clock and provide meaningful playoff minutes, even though he'll have games where he isn't contributing anything. So, yeah, it's got to drive you to insanity.
All right, we do have to get a timeout in here, but let's get back to Gene. Timeout first or Gene first? Gene and then timeout. Kyle, I'm looking at the clock. I know we got to burn another one here. We got to do at least 2 this hour, so we got to get one in. I'm a little overdue for doing 2. Our buddy Gene McIntyre, who lives in Houston, by the way, talk about lore from Game 6 Clay to Game 7 Buddy. This is huge for Buddy. Playoff reps. What's the record when he scores 20 or more? Yeah, we're going to get to that coming up in our Fun with Numbers segment after we do Sounds of Dubs OT here on Dubs OT. But yeah, I mean, add that to the torment, right, Greg? Add that to the torment of the Warriors over the Rockets.
Add it to the list. It's brutal. And I think the future is bright for this team, but not necessarily this core. Now, if you go and trade for a Kevin Durant or something, the bottom line is I think you have the pieces to make for a successful run for the Houston Rockets. But this iteration, they simply just can't play good enough half-court offense. They can't shoot it well enough. They had the Warriors on the ropes there for a little bit, but I still think they weren't going to get past Minnesota had they beaten the Warriors tonight. So they're building something, but they're not there with this group.
No, they're not. And again, I think back, you made me kind of go back to 2 years ago again. And look, I think this Rockets team is built more for the long haul than the Sacramento team that the Warriors beat 2 years ago in the first round in winning that series in 7. But if you recall, now that we have 2 years removed, that was an overachieving Kings team. They won 48 games. They were a 3 seed. The Rockets won 52. The Kings thought on the night that the Warriors beat them like their future was bright. and like they were going to be contenders, either a move away from being a contender or running it back again with young players, they would be better and then maybe make a move for a contender. And the Kings have never been in a better place than they were the night that Steph Curry dropped 50 on them since that day. It has been, and now they're back to, as Shaq says, expansionism, right? They got Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. They've got Doug Christie as their, I mean, the Kings are a complete joke right now. And like Doug Christie is like, they've got a new GM who decided, I think he's going to take another year to figure out what to actually do with the roster. So he's going to let Doug Christie coach, fire him next year when they stink, and hire a real coach when they actually have some semblance of a direction. This is not a shot across the bow at the Rockets, but young teams that think they're going to make a jump, that next year is the truly defining year as to whether they actually do. And we saw it. I mean, there is some similarities in terms of the trajectory of that Kings team and this Rockets team. But I think the Rockets are primed with picks and, the ability, good young players that they can be expendable to go. They're going to go get somebody. And then we'll see how it all ends up shaking out.
Totally. Yeah. I don't think that this particular group is a step away just as constructed, but I do think there may be a move or a couple of pieces being shuffled around away. And I don't know if they'll be on the short list of title contenders next year in 2025, but I think they're set up to be competitive for the foreseeable future.
808 KNBR, still time to sneak in some phone calls. Greg, do you need to run now, or do you want to come back and hang until the top of the hour? It's entirely up to you.
I probably will run so I can do the other half of my job and prepare for 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow. But the good news is this isn't our farewell Dubs OT. Friday was not our farewell harmonic. So we'll have some good discussions coming ahead. But yeah, I'm going to try to attempt to get that extra 20 minutes of sleep that may or may not happen.
All right. Sounds good, Greg. Appreciate you joining me. And yeah, we're going to be back Dubs OT Tuesday night after Giants post game. So we're going to be on the air and on YouTube Tuesday. The Giants don't play Thursday, so we're going to be on the air and on YouTube Thursday. And then Saturday back at Harmonic. Saturday, Monday at Harmonic in Thrive City. Greg, I know you'll be out at the game on Saturday to be sure. And we'll definitely make sure we have you on there. I think the Giants, that one might be at least starting on YouTube. So love to have you by Harmonic following that one, and then we'll go from there as it relates to the remainder of this series. Thanks, Greg. We'll talk to you soon, bro.
You know where to find me. Best Dubs coverage in the Bay, best chat on the internet. I'll see you later.
100% Andis. Later, Greg. Sleep is underrated. Man, you ain't kidding, Andis. Sleep is underrated, says the guy who last week got off a flight and went home and slept for about 11 hours. Sleep is great. Not going to be much sleep this week with the Warriors, though, going from Houston to Minnesota. Let's take a timeout here. 808 KNBR, more in the chat. We'll do a lot of chats here, and we'll come back at the top of the hour, and we'll do Sounds at Dubs OT at the top of the hour. I think we've gone too far in this segment to do Sounds at Dubs OT. We got a lot of great sound as the Warriors get the win. They vanquish the Rockets in 7, 103-89 is the final, and we are talking about it right here on Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader.
Dub Nation, this is the real and inside story on Warriors basketball. Dubs OT with John Dickinson continues. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
Buddy Hield, why not? Buddy Hield's got 33. Buddy Hield with that three-pointer, his 9th, just ties an NBA record in a Game 7 in the playoffs for the most three-pointers in a game. Last time out, we come back with a victory lap for the Golden State Warriors.
Warriors win it 103-89. We're back here on Dubs OT with JD. We got Kyle Harr in our San Francisco studios, as well as the Warriors are on to the Western semifinals against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That series will start on Tuesday in Minneapolis with game 1 and 2, and then the Dubs back at home. These games are coming rapid fire every other day for the first 5. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, and then next Wednesday, the first 5 there. Then a little bit of a Valkyries inaugural break if the series can get to 6. Game 6, 2 weeks from today. Game 7 would be Tuesday, May the 20th, and then we'll see where things stand at that point. We do have Sounds of Dubs OT coming up at the top of the hour, but let's get back to the best chat in sports, and that is the Dubs OT YouTube chat. And we're going to go extended Kyle's clicks here. Fozzie, I got to say this again. I'm sorry for calling in after game 1 and predicting a sweep. I was so wrong. Yeah, the Rockets deserve some credit. The Rockets would not fold. And I don't care what you think about the Rockets. And I think they came into this series as a young group that was, trying to learn about themselves and would they have enough offense? Were they too much built on grit and tenacity and physicality and not built quite enough on skill? And in the end, they didn't quite have enough skill to match the Warriors, but they did in 3 individual games in this series. Now, and really even in 2 games that they lost, I think they showed that they did in game 3 and game 4 at Chase. Those games, both of them could have gone another direction, and maybe we're having a completely different conversation even before this game being played tonight. So I had Warriors in 6. The series actually played out exactly how I thought it would until Friday at Chase when the Warriors got beat to have to come back to Houston and play the game 7. But I think the Warriors. It's funny. I didn't feel great about the Warriors after Friday, really all day yesterday. But sometimes you wake up and you just feel different, and I just felt different about it today. And just the OG leadership. It was the leadership versus the youth, and the Rockets really going through. Game 7s are just different. And a young team going through it for the first time, even with a guy like Van Vliet who's been through it, the Warriors have a bunch of dudes who have been through it. And it truly was going to be the youth and athleticism and all that versus the Warriors' ability to play poised and show their championship pedigree. And I thought they did that. Rockets got their pound of flesh, says Andis Brown. They left their mark. No question. They definitely did, and we'll see how this next series plays out. You would have probably said the same thing 2 years ago when the Warriors beat Sacramento in Game 7. The Warriors, the pound of flesh was taken by the Kings for the 3 games that they won in that series, and it hurt the Warriors and prevented them from being able to win the next series against the Lakers, which they ultimately lost in 6 games, and were completely out of gas by the finale of that series as well. So yeah, JD, do you think if Minnesota goes up 2-0, it's over? Robert, it's never over when a team holds serve at home to go up 2-0. It's never over. It is you. There always has to be the opportunity, and especially with this Warriors team as tired. And I mean, look, these first 2 games, I'm just going to be honest. The first 2 games in Minnesota have the potential to be ugly. Like they really do. Now, that being said, the Warriors did play some of their best basketball against Minnesota, and that was before the trade. That was that was the Wiggins era Warriors against the Timberwolves. But those games were early, and the Timberwolves were trying to find themselves, and so we just don't have a lot to go on in terms of looking at, what matters from the season series. I actually don't think much of it matters at all. The Rockets or the Timberwolves were finding themselves. They had made the Julius Randle trade. They were just not in a great place. And the Warriors, again, 2 of the 3 wins in the worst stretch of basketball the Warriors played all year were against the Timberwolves in the 3-12 stretch. So to answer the question, Robert Brown, do you think if Minnesota goes up 2-0, it's over? No. If Minnesota gets up 3-1, it's probably over. Not if Minnesota gets up 2-0. Estimated eyes. Who would know this game would play out virtually clean? Yeah, it really was. Like, nobody complaining about the officiating tonight. Nobody complained. There was no fight. Nothing. Like, and I think you would have thought going in that there would have been potential for there to be, a melee or a fray. I think both teams ended up competing against each other, and I would not have bet on this, Kyle, 2 weeks ago tonight as the series started. I think both these teams left this series with the mutual respect for each other. I really do, and I know Draymond. I've seen some of the comments from Toyota Center in his post-game press conference. He said as much in terms of gaining respect for the young Rockets. So we may hear a little of that coming up in our sound segment, Kyle.
Well, even after the game, as they were shaking hands, it wasn't like Draymond just stormed off the court or the Rockets stormed off the court. They were very cordial and respectful and showed sportsmanship. And I think both teams respect each other in that instance. They understood that it was a hard fought battle. And I mean, yeah, thankful the Warriors won Game 7, but yeah, I thought these are 2 teams at the end of the day that respect each other.
Well, and say what you want, and I'll ask you, Kyle, as a Warrior fan, and maybe our buddy Ryan McCarthy can chime in as a Warrior fan on this as well. But these Rockets, as much as Warrior fans hate the Rockets, and Dylan Brooks is certainly a big part of it, these Rockets ain't the Chris Paul, James Harden Rockets. Like, that's a whole, and I feel like that's a whole different level. And yeah, it's the same laundry, right? It's the same jersey and the same logo, and and they in their own way, I think, aggravate Warrior fans. But I don't know. I mean, the way this group goes about it is a little different than the way that group went about it, and I think that group annoyed Warrior fans, shall we say, more than really anybody other than anybody this side of LeBron, I guess. But they even respect LeBron now, I feel like.
Oh yeah. But also, like, when thinking back to those Rockets and these Rockets, they're completely different teams.
Different.
So completely different. Like that team was ISO ball, James Harden or Chris Paul, either step back 3 or drive to the paint and kick out to the corner 3. And these Rockets are all physical. Let's get as many offensive rebounds as we can. We're gonna pound you on the defensive end of the court. And but yeah, 2 completely different styles of basketball.
2 completely different styles of basketball, and it's really incredible when you look at. Again, I think there's especially a Draymond type. I think he has a lot more respect for the way this Rockets team goes about it. And again, it's a very young team that I will say, again, not to do Rockets OT here. They on paper have a bright future. But that whatever that next move is, whoever they take away in terms of the young players to get the star that I think they believe they have the potential to get, that's going to change some of the chemistry that this team had, and they're going to have to roll with that. Andis Brown, I think Dre, Jimmy, and the Warriors just don't like Dylan. They just have sports hate for the Rockets, which just means competition. I think that's well said. Andis. Continuing on here in the YouTube chat on Dubs OT, Warriors win. Jimbo, the young guys are going to play a lot in the next game. The vets are going to have to get a break somewhere. Well, I think Moody and Post will. I think Pajemski will. I don't think Kuminga is in the plans at all unless GP2 is still sick. Look, if the Warriors are full strength, Kuminga's not playing until further notice. Like, that is just the reality. So, again, I'm not going to get off on another tangent, but as far as the other young players, maybe even a little Pat Spencer, are gonna be playing. And because you're right, Steve is, I think, especially Tuesday, because game one is always a feeling out game in a series. I think Tuesday is a game where Steve is gonna he's gonna keep Jimmy and Steph and Draymond, I think, in the low 30s. And if he pushes it, it's only going to be because they're playing well. And if he pushes it, it's going to be like in the 36 to 37 range. It's not going to be pushing it into the mid to upper 40s, which is what we've seen a couple of different times in this series. But I agree with you, Jimbo, on that front. Barry chiming in here. I don't think Minnesota is going to be able to put that type of defensive pressure on Golden State. I agree. I said it earlier. I think from the Warriors standpoint, after playing the Rockets and the way they defended, I think by comparison, the Timberwolves are going to be a picnic. Like, really, like I think, and the Timberwolves are good. That doesn't mean the Timberwolves can't dominate in their own way. The thing is, the Timberwolves are not as good defensively, although they can be excellent defensively, but they're far superior offensively. I mean, they have guys who can shoot it. They have a clear-cut alpha number one in Anthony Edwards. They can go ball movement. One thing I will say that I think can be an advantage for the Warriors, they tend to defend better against isolation-heavy players. And if the Timberwolves want to isolate Edwards, I think the Warriors are comfortable making him shoot jumpers on the perimeter. I think they're comfortable with Julius Randle out on the perimeter, pounding it on the deck over and over and over and over before driving and spinning and kicking it to somebody and getting it back and putting his ass into somebody and spinning and dribbling and dribbling and dribbling. And, I mean, I think, the Warriors are comfortable if it's going to be that version. And then they've proven that they can really hurt Rudy Gobert in different ways, really on both sides, make him ineffective in some ways, on both ends. So I think that's something that's going to be important as well. Estimated eyes, we beat the Wolves 3-1 this season. What? Yeah. Early though. And I'm kind of running through here. The Warriors won, and I want to go back through. I do have it here, Kyle, 2024. But I want to sort it in a way that I can get to it quickly. So I'm just kind of talking myself through being able to bring up the game logs from these games. And, yeah, I remember some of them. But, yeah, the Warriors played the 4 game. They lost the first one. The reason nobody remembers – so they played 3 times in December. December 6th, December 8th. It was a Friday and a Sunday at Chase. It was the Timberwolves – coming in and doing that. A lot of the Midwest Southeast teams will come in and play 2, and they played Friday night. The Timberwolves won. They played Sunday, and the Warriors won. And Kuminga actually played really well in that game. That was a game where I'm trying to think. The 49ers were playing the Bears that night or that afternoon at Levi's, and then the Warriors tipped off that Sunday night against the Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves won that game. Or the Warriors won that game after the Timberwolves won the Friday. And then the Warriors won both games in Minneapolis, which is kind of crazy when you look at it. The Warriors won both games in Minneapolis on December 21st. That was in the midst of the Warriors 3-12 struggles. And then they went and won again in January to get to 20-20, 116 to 115. But all before the Jimmy Butler trade. And, yeah, kind of crazy. Dig on 117, I'm only worried about Nas because he kills the Warriors. He does. And yeah, he definitely does. Not worried about Gobert, I guess. But, man, that's going to be spicy because the Warriors and Draymond in particular do not like Rudy Gobert. Wow. I mean, that is going to be something. And then Ant, on the Timberwolves side of it, I mean, think of all the big name guys that Anthony Edwards has eliminated in the last 2 years, from KD and Booker to Jokic and Murray to LeBron and Luka to now potentially trying to add Steph and Jimmy Butler to that list. Think about that. That's pretty incredible. And now Ant gets to take his shot from the Timberwolves side at Steph and Jimmy and Draymond as well. But yeah, Naz Reid is somebody that you're not going to dare him to shoot it from the perimeter at all. All right, two more. Jay from the land of Hella. Buddy should be splashing 6 to 8 threes a game playing next to Curry. Maybe 3 or 4. Maybe 3 or 4. But hey, tonight it was 9, and you'll take it if you're a Warrior fan. Florida Dubs fan, Steph's threes tonight were not many, but demoralizing when they came. Yeah, that is for sure. I thought Steph, beginning of the fourth quarter for Steph, it was a Curry layup and then the Curry 3 on Amen Thompson with the Warriors up 8. I thought the Warriors did a nice job in the end of the third quarter stabilizing themselves. He had a 3 after a timeout to have it go from 5 to 8 as the Rockets were just coming middle third quarter. The Rockets just refusing to go quietly, and Curry hit a 3 after the timeout, which I thought was demoralizing. The big question I had in the second half, would the Warriors be able to score enough to close it? They were, and after a few buckets down the stretch there to end the third, they were up 8. But the first 5 of the fourth for Steph, I thought were huge to put the Warriors up 13. The Rockets did still keep coming. At that point, they got it down to 7 at one point, and then it was a Curry layup to go back up 9, and a Buddy Hield 3 after a Van Vliet jumper, and then Curry with another layup. It was Curry attacking the way he did in Sacramento in Game 7. Again, didn't get to 50, but it was majorly impactful and key. But I'm with you. A couple of those demoralizing threes that I mentioned right there were spot on. One more, Kyle, before we take a timeout. All right, breathe well. Buddy had me looking twice to see if that was Jimmy Butler. Man, Jimmy's shot does not ever look like it's going in, but he hits enough of them, and he's hitting more of them now than he was hitting when he first started with the Warriors.
I feel like he wills it in. Forces it in.
It is a line freaking drive. It looks like it's got one shot to just, and if it doesn't, man, that thing is rimming in and out off the back, popping up high in the air. Like it is a tight window for Jimmy to be able to knock that thing down when you shoot it at that trajectory. But he has been able to do it. All right, you're listening to KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM, San Francisco, a Cumulus media station. We are now into the 10 o'clock hour here on this Sunday night in the Bay, and we continue on with Dubs OT with JD. Let's take our time out at the top of the hour here. We'll come back and we'll do our sounds at Dubs OT, more Kyle's clicks and fun with numbers as we continue to roll on here into the night. Warriors get the win, 103-89. Best Dubs coverage in the Bay is right here on the Sports Leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no ball.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
Jimmy Butler happy on the court tonight. Warriors win 103-89, 4-3 series win for the Dubs over the Rockets. It's on to Minnesota for the Warriors and the Timberwolves beginning on Tuesday night up north. Let's get it rolling here on our Sounds of Dubs OT as we often do. Steve Kerr, head coach of the Warriors. This one courtesy of TNT, just talking about how proud he is of the club for finding a way to get the job done.
Couldn't be more proud of our guys. That was an incredibly impressive display of resolve, discipline. The defense was fantastic. The ball security, kind of game plan discipline, followed to a T, and then multiple guys stepping up. Buddy Hield, I don't know what to say. I mean, that was really incredible watching him light it up in that first half especially, and then down the stretch as well. But I can't say enough about our guys and, what they were able to do in this series and to pull this thing out on the road in Game 7. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, incredibly impressive. And again, they don't do it without Buddy Hield having the game that he had. And again, even a good Buddy Hield game might not have been enough, as we talked about with the Warriors. Winning this game going away, it ends up being a 14-point margin, and the Warriors were able to put it away there comfortably in the final 5 minutes or so. But Buddy Hield could have had a really good game and had 18 points, and the Warriors could have ended up in an absolute slugfest, knockdown, drag-out game and could have lost it in the high 80s or low 90s, believe it or not. And again, I hate to think what this game would have looked like had Buddy missed a couple of the shots that he hit in the early going when it was much closer. He helped the Warriors gain the separation. I mean, this had the potential to be a really, 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 really frustrating night for the Dubs throughout the game, as well as they played and as poised as they were. If Buddy, again, is instead of 9 of 11, he could have been 5 for 11, and the Warriors might have been in big trouble in this game down the stretch. All right, let's continue on here. More sounds at Dubs OT. Another from Steve Kerr, and Steve talking about Draymond and how Draymond was in Game 6 and how it helped Draymond set the tone for the rest of this Warriors team.
Draymond set the tone last night at the team meeting. Basically, he owned up to losing his poise in Game 6, and I agreed with him. I thought the flagrant foul 4 minutes into the game was a tone setter, and he knew it, and so he talked to the group last night and said, I got to be poised and I have to be better, and we're going to come in here tomorrow and get it done. And I think his emotional stability tonight, just his poise from the start, I thought it set a great tone.
No question. And look, Draymond, this team takes on the personality of Draymond Green, and for him to be fierce and aggressive and intense is one thing, but there are times where it can be a little bit out of control. Well chronicled times in this series, well chronicled against Rudy Gobert and against the Timberwolves. Remember the fight last year between the Warriors and the Timberwolves? It was Klay Thompson and Jaden McDaniels that fought, and that's what led to the Draymond Draymond chokehold on Rudy Gobert as everything broke out and Draymond trying to keep Gobert away. So that, again, that's something that I think is going to come up here in the next couple of days as well as we start to preview it. But a poised Draymond, a confident Draymond, a calmer Draymond while still being aggressive, I think is huge to allow for the Warriors to play freely and play confidently. And look, they've got a lot of young players on this team who look to Draymond to set that tone. And if he's setting the wrong tone, I think it has the ability to make others uneasy in moments where you don't want them to be. So from Steve Kerr, let's go to Draymond. Let's hear one Draymond who addressed what Steve Kerr just addressed, which was the necessity for him to be accountable to the rest of his teammates.
I think what goes into it is really decide who's going to get a speech. Obviously, I always try to defer to Steph, defer to Jimmy, and they wanted me to speak. But I had a lot to say. And like I said, most importantly was calling myself out. You know, you can't go into a game 7 expecting guys to rally off the game we had before and not address it. And so I wanted to address that, number one. And then secondly, tell everybody else what we needed, which was a togetherness like no other. In our huddles together, trusting in each other and believing. And so thought it was much needed. But as much as I think this team needed, I feel like I needed it for myself even more. Because you got to be accountable. You can't be a leader and not be accountable. And you call other guys out when their things, then you better say when yours does too. And that's what I tried to make a point in doing.
Well, and Draymond did, and then he went out and he played like a man possessed defensively in this game, and he knocked down a 3 from the top of the key, and he scored 16 points. You know, we can talk about Draymond with the rebounding and the defense, and he had Şengün in hell tonight in Şengün's 40 minutes. Draymond played the 40 himself, and 6 boards and 5 assists and a couple of blocks and a steal and all those things. We talk about Buddy Hield's 33. Draymond had 16 points tonight, not 4. Not 7, not 2. Like, Draymond had 16 points, and there was a point in the first half where it was basically Buddy Hield and Draymond that were carrying the offense. Steph didn't have a point till late in the second quarter when he hit a 3. And the Warriors were up 10. I remember the Rockets calling timeout. The Warriors are up 10, and Steph had 0. Why? Because Buddy Hield and Draymond Green were getting the job done scoring the basketball. And the Warriors are just a much different team when Draymond Green has the ability. He was aggressive tonight. He was attacking and looking to score and doing it. How often do we look at Draymond Green's stat line and he's right there missing layups? Forget about the 3 ball, missing the pocket, the shots in the pocket, the in between stuff. Draymond was 5 for 7 on 2s in this game. He had some driving layups, some finishes. Like, he was just he was not out of control in this game. And again, I think you could make the case his 16 points were as important as Buddy Hield going for 33 and allowing the Warriors to get the win in this game. All right, let's continue on here. More sounds of Dubs OT from Draymond Green. We got to hear from the star of the night, which is Buddy Buckets. Buddy Hield with the 33 and the 9 of 11 from 3. Here is Buddy on this team meeting that popped up last night in the lead up to Game 7. These team meetings are becoming the stuff of great folklore here. Remember, there was the bus ride to Sacramento 2 years ago before Game 7. This team meeting in Houston last night. A lot of discussion about it in the post-game press conference. Here's Buddy Hield on that meeting and who stepped up.
Yesterday when we get to Houston, we had a very emotional meeting led by Draymond and Steph and Jimmy. And from then, I was just locked in and just get my spirit together. And just like this, the meeting we had was just like just better give everybody chills. And we know when they go to battle, we know what that means. And the meeting was well needed.
So there you go, well needed, and Buddy able to look. Buddy, if there is a flaw in Buddy Hield from time to time, and look, I mean, Buddy Hield is a flawed player in many ways, but in one of the ways that he is he does have that tendency to kind of he's one of those guys that when he doesn't play well, it looks like he doesn't care, like when he doesn't play well, because it's kind of his temperament and his mistakes are in an especially aggravating manner. And I think Buddy Hield knows Game 7 serious, and if you lose, you're going home and all of those different things. But Buddy's never been a part of a team or a franchise with players like Steph and Draymond and Jimmy at the lead with Steve Kerr. And so I have to think, and Buddy talked about this even going back to Hawaii, early, just how in training camp, being a part of this was just so different and inspiring, and, not wanting to, basically he said, I remember back in Hawaii, he basically said, I got to be, I got to be less of a bleep up, like I got to be a little more serious than I've been. And look, he's still the teammate that everybody loves, in part because, as Steve Kerr said, players are laughing at him as much as they're laughing with him. And it's a lot of both, but I think Buddy understands that he's got to be a little bit more serious on this team. And I think it showed in his focus in this game. All right, let's get one from Jimmy Butler post game, and then we'll get one more from Steph Curry as the Warriors win 103-89. Jimmy Butler, just not enough praise to be had from Jimmy as it related to just having the opportunity to play with the champions that he's playing with on this roster, Steph and Draymond Green in particular.
It's a pleasure to be able to compete in a Game 7 on the road with those two Hall of Famers. And, my message to my guys was I wasn't being who I was in a sense of pumping confidence into my guys. I think that's a part of my leadership that I've learned and gained throughout my years of playing this game at a high level. And I wasn't doing that for the first 6 games. So I wanted to make sure to let them know that I was going to let you know everything was going to be fine. We're right where we wanted to be. And I think I got back to being who I'm supposed to be.
And Jimmy Butler was exactly who the Warriors need him to be in this game. And look, a new environment, and at times, the Warriors got Jimmy Butler to be aggressive. The Warriors got Jimmy Butler to be a second alpha with Steph Curry. They got him because they needed somebody that could score his own shot and be able to get others. They got him for him. They wanted the full Jimmy Butler. And I didn't think that he looked out of sorts or anything other than the injury going back to Game 2 and not playing in Game 3 and certainly being banged up as this series went on. But I didn't think you weren't getting the Jimmy that you want and need. I really didn't see that. But if Jimmy thought so, then he was able to get himself a little bit refocused and come back and be the Jimmy buckets that the Warriors needed to win this series against the Rockets. And Jimmy tonight, just a real smooth 20, 8 boards, 7 assists. How about Steph tonight, by the way, with the rebounds? 10 rebounds for Steph, 7 assists, 2 blocks. Like the Warriors, we've talked about gang rebounding and the whole series, and the Warriors never really did it in any of the games. They did it tonight. And again, they still got beat on the boards, I think, by 15. But they were not decimated on the boards with second chances and putbacks and just back-breaking offensive rebounds in the way that they had been really in all 6 of the other games. This was the Warriors' best rebounding game of the series, I think, by far. And they still got beat on the boards by 15. But this was their best rebound. They rebounded well enough to win the game, which ultimately won them the series. All right, one more, and we got to hear from Steph about, and this courtesy of TNT as well, just the ability to get back a little bit deeper into the playoffs. Warriors didn't make the playoffs last year. Warriors got beat in the second round 2 years ago after winning the NBA championship in 2022. Last year, and the Warriors not making the playoffs stung a lot of people, and it stung Steph Curry in particular because he's the one that is not going to be playing forever now at 37 years old. And every year he doesn't get an opportunity to compete in the playoffs is a wasted year, fair or unfair. And last year wound up being a wasted year while Steph is still playing at the level that he is. This year does not feel wasted anymore. I think tonight clinches that now that the Warriors will at least get a second series. It was a huge discussion point on this show, Kyle. You know it. If the Warriors had lost tonight, especially up 3-1, I feel like as well as the Jimmy Butler end of the regular season was and how well the Warriors had to play to get themselves in, Warriors lose tonight, I think it would have gone down as a major disappointment especially being up 3-1 in this series.
I also think it would have tainted the legacies of Steph, Dre, and Kerr a little bit, because then they would be the guys that lost, that gave up 3-1 series leads, not once but twice.
Yeah, and that is interesting. I don't think it's not a list you want to be on, because it's only happened 13 times in NBA history. I think it's 13 out of 100, and we did the math on 130 or something. I may be off on that, but yeah, the Warriors are on it. It's such a unique one, though, that the Warriors are on. I mean, the Warriors, again, they blew it. It's on them, but I mean, Draymond getting suspended, which is part of it, I know, but that one to me is a little. I mean, it counts. This one would have been worse. I feel like this, crazy as that, I feel like this one would have been worse, because that one you at least, I mean, people are probably saying, JD, you're freaking crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it was the finals, and it was LeBron, and it was 73-9. But I don't know. That I think you could see under the circumstances without Draymond. This one would have been bad. This one would have stung. You know, having the Rockets celebrate. I don't know that it taints the legacy per se, but I do think, Kyle, it would have, you would have felt like the 31 games with Jimmy after the trade were kind of a waste, because the Warriors played so hard. And then it's also back to the drawing board. I mean, I said it, and look, we can maybe relitigate whether or not the Lakers would have been a more favorable matchup than the Rockets. It was a huge thing in the lead up to the series and down the stretch of the season. We discussed it every single night on this show. But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I think I thought the Rockets were the more favorable matchup. But if you don't beat the Rockets, I mean, I just think, like, you got that matchup against the inexperienced team and you still couldn't get the job done. Like, to me, that would have stung, because it wasn't Oklahoma City that knocked you out playing at a historic regular. It wasn't LeBron and Luka that knocked you out. It wasn't, Jokic that knocked you out. The Warriors really struggled against Denver, or the Clippers, who the Warriors couldn't beat, at all this year, 0-4 in their head-to-head matchups. Even though the Clippers got beat by Denver. So I don't know. From that standpoint, I think losing to the Rockets would have really stung, because I think you could make a case if you just run through everybody, OKC and the Clippers when they're on, and Denver had some coaching. Like, I think you could legitimately make a case if you were to power rank the West. The Rockets earned their 2 seed, but I think the Rockets are probably closer to 6th or 7th in terms of best team in the Western Conference. And again, we can debate it. It doesn't really matter. Again, a great season by the Rockets. I do think their future is bright, but I don't know, man. Losing to the Rockets would have hit different than losing to one of the other stars in the West.
Yeah, it would have freaking sucked. But also, like, if the Warriors were to lose this series, could you imagine the fans coming after Steve Kerr?
Well, and imagine, I mean, again, he was terrible tonight, and it's undeniable. But can you imagine? Did we play the Curry cut, by the way?
No.
I would say we haven't. I say we haven't played the Curry cut. I thought we hadn't played the Curry cut. We'll play the Curry cut coming up in just a second here. But I mean, yeah. Can you imagine if Kuminga didn't play tonight and the Warriors got beat? Oh my God. It all comes back to Kuminga. All right, let's hear from Steph on loving to be back in the playoff mix.
That's why we're here. I mean, we were, 10th place at one point in February, and finished the year with a sense of urgency on the run to even get it to the play-in to give ourselves a chance. So for us to build chemistry on the fly, build trust on the fly, and perform like we did in a Game 7 like this, it means the world. So mission accomplished, step one. We got an incredibly tough Minnesota team waiting, so I'm excited for the challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a challenge. But again, at least you get the opportunity to see how you stack up. And we'll see. Again, I think there are parts of this next series that are going to be easier. I think there are going to be parts of this series that are going to be a hell of a lot more challenging for the Warriors as they look to move forward here. All right, Kyle, let's take one more timeout. Or do you want to do a couple clicks, couple chats?
Well, look, I say let's go to the YouTube chat. We're
Let's
doing
go
pretty
to the
well
chat.
on spots. Let's go to the YouTube
Let's go to the chat. All right, let's go to the chat, and I'm gonna get fun with numbers going here as we go to the chat. We'll make this the last few minutes here. Breathe well. This is by far the best Dubs show in the universe. There's no question about it. And Breathe well. We appreciate you. Maybe you're in there. You don't comment a lot. You're watching, but we appreciate you commenting. You're one of the newbies, at least in terms of the commenters. And yeah, we were a lot of people, over 300 at one point in the room here tonight, and we appreciate it. And we're continuing this thing on Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. There is no question this is the best Dub show going after every game. JD, what's better than a game 7 win today? Which one, today or 2023 against the Kings? Learn to read, JD. It's a good question. I think it's this one because I think there was some doubt. Man, they're very similar. Honestly, they are very similar. I think this Rockets team was better than that Kings team, and that Kings team gave the Warriors a lot of trouble. I mean, that was a good team that one year. But I just, and it's funny. The Rockets are kind of all defense. The Kings are kind of all offense. So they're opposites in that vein. But losing to the Kings would have been tough, I think, for the Warriors to live down, especially with a lot of the talk about the dynasty maybe ending. I think tonight, and I'm going to tell you why, I think tonight is because it validates that this team, as it's currently constituted, still has something to play for. And I think this team has a higher ceiling potentially still than that team did. And that team lost in 6 to the Lakers. Maybe this team loses in 6 to the Timberwolves. I mean, we'll see. It may wind up being kind of the same. But I think when you look at where this team was on February 5th before the trade, to be able to go from really not a lot of hope to can get to the second round, and not only no matter what happens this year, have a belief. I think losing tonight would have snuffed out some of the belief in the Steph, Draymond, Jimmy trio's ceiling. Like, can they really win a title? Yeah, they got to do some stuff. Can they really win a title? You get to the second round and go out, and I don't think the Warriors are planning on being no easy out, but you get to the second round and go out. I think it's you feel like you're a hell of a lot closer, even though it's one more round, toward being able to contend for a title next year if you make a couple of moves. So I'm going to vote tonight on that front, Robert. Best part of tonight, says Max Lopez, is that it's not the last Dubs OT of the year. No, it is not. We will be back on Tuesday, and we're going to be looking forward to talking about it. We're back at Harmonic, which is something that's thrilling as well, on Saturday and next Monday, and hopefully for a Game 6 2 weeks from today, unless the Warriors have already won that series in 5, which they ain't gonna. They ain't winning that series. You ain't winning that series in anything less than 6 or 7. I'll tell you that right now. Continuing on here, Digum 117, Julius Randle can keep the Warriors in the series because he also isn't a smart player. I think the Warriors would love Julius Randle putting it on the deck and backing down and kicking it out and backing down again, dribble, lefty spin, kick it to DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo gives it back to Randle. Yeah, I think that's, yeah. And then, fade away 17-footer. So I think Julius Randle can have the potential to keep him in it. One more, 2 more, a few more, however many more want to do. 2 more. Is this officially like the final 2? Like the final 2? Okay. All right. So DVDV, Rockets dumb, Target thumb, Houston numb, Warriors triumph. I thought it was going to be Warriors in 5. I thought it was going to be Rockets dumb, Target thumb, Houston numb, Warriors in 5 in the next round. I thought that was like the Shannon Sharp thing, DVDV. I guess maybe not. All right, let's get to our comment of the night.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
Bennett Roth. Steph said night. Kerr said curtains on closing out Houston. And I'm going to say Houston. I'm just going to add a Houston because I've seen a lot of Houston on the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line, by the way. I want to get a couple of texts in too. 862 Dubs wax the Rockets. I've been neglecting the text line tonight in 7. Next up, The T-Wolves in 6. T-Wolves in 6 from the 882. 831. Anyone else notice the pregame warmups? The cameras got the Warriors all jumping around. Not a worry in the world. They look hella confident. Kind of had a good feeling after that. Thanks, JD. Yeah, the Warriors are very loose pregame. I hear they were very loose at shoot-around today as well. Just kind of chilling, locked in. Steph had a good shoot-around. Draymond and Steve, I saw a video of Draymond and Steve just kind of chilling on the bench, chatting and smiling. And so, yeah, I 209 Lakers and Clippers gone. Glad the Warriors are representing Cali. Yep, that is true. The Warriors are the last of the California teams standing here. 209, Dub Nation always has faith in our guy Buddy Buckets, and he delivered. 331, how about this? This might be going too far, Kyle. Game 7, Buddy, new Dubs franchise legend. I don't know about that, but it will be something like 8 years from now or 20 years from now. You're gonna be like, remember that Buddy Hield Game 7? Who was that against? Was that against the Rockets? Who was that against?
I need to find this chat, but they're saying that it would be a very good trivia question, like down the road, you know.
Well, the trivia question was the note we had earlier, right? The trivia question was the most points by a player following a scoreless game in playoff history. Buddy Hield, 33 after having a goose egg. Buddy going to be an incredible answer to a trivia qualifier. Yeah, breathe well. Breathe well is moving up the commenter standings here on Dubs OT. Couple of more in the chat. Warriors are the last OGs standing. This is a good one from the 510. LeBron gone. KD didn't make the playoffs. Even Harden, adios. Kudos to them for advancing. But I don't see them getting by the Wolves. They will run out of gas. The kids are here to stay. Yeah, that is, I think, where things are at. 510, no blown lead tonight. Now go beat the Wolves. And you know who else is excited about this series? Kyle? Our buddy Jimmy from Harmonic Brewing, who is now no longer at Harmonic Brewing, but Jimmy's a Minnesota guy. Jimmy's a Minnesota guy, and Jimmy knows all the places to eat and drink beer and hang out. And Jimmy is the only real life Minnesota Timberwolves fan, like grew up in the Twin Cities that I know. So he's super excited, obviously living in the Bay now. And he left Harmonic about a month ago, but it's going to be a fun series for our buddy Jimmy. And our buddy Alex, who's texting in here, Harmonic Alex as well. Loving what's going on here as he rolls on in. It'll be good to see Alex again over there coming up, hopefully next weekend. All right, a couple of things here. Let's get to fun with numbers, and then we'll close it out.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, because I am ever distractible, I want to throw one more thing at Kyle here. Kyle, because we're not really we did a little tonight, but I want to ask you, Kyle, if we picked a time maybe tomorrow, I'm trying to think, maybe tomorrow night or, I don't know, tomorrow night, Tuesday, would the people want a Dubs OT, just a special live stream, like preview, like maybe an hour, maybe do like an hour of Minnesota preview? Would the people want an hour of that? I know the Giants are going to Chicago, and so they're going to be playing, and obviously we got post game tomorrow after the game. But I don't know, maybe we find a time in the evening, we release it as a podcast. Just kicking around the idea.
Okay, I will say Monday night, not a good time for your boy. But
okay.
I've a rec league. I'm in a rec league basketball thing.
Oh, so you're playing a little. Okay.
I'm playing at night, and I'm missing the playoffs. I'm missing the playoffs because the following Monday, the Warriors will play Minnesota for Game 4. Anyway, but I would say Tuesday during the day would probably be pretty good.
All right, so maybe Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday we do something. All right, maybe Tuesday. We'll figure it out. And Jimmy, by the way, Jimmy texted in here. Thanks for the shout out. Driving home from work. Yeah, we love Jimmy. We love Jimmy, and he knows all the places. He knows all the good spots in Minneapolis to hang out and have a good time for those who may or may not be going there. So we will let's get to our fun with numbers. Warriors become the seventh seed to reach the conference semifinals. Last 7 seed to do it, Lakers 2 years ago. In 2023, they beat the Grizzlies to advance and play the Warriors there. Warriors are 8-0 in the first round in the Steve Kerr era. Their last first-round loss was Mark Jackson's last game, which was 11 years ago yesterday in L.A. against the Clippers before he was fired right around this time. I think he was fired on the 6th or 7th of May. Warriors have now won 20 of the last 21 playoff series against Western Conference teams. Only that Lakers series 2 years ago. It's the only Western Conference series Steve's ever lost. The Warriors have won 5 series. We laid them out earlier against the Rockets as well. 15-16, 18-19, 20-10 overall in those games, and they won Game 7 on the road twice. Beat them in 2018 on the road in the conference finals. Beat them in 2025 on the road tonight. Warriors also, according to Elias, we had the note earlier on Buddy. I will reiterate that one more time. The note on Buddy Hield, 33 points, the most by a player following a scoreless game in a single postseason in NBA history. Incredible. The most with a goose egg. The Warriors have played 50 clutch games now, regular season, play-in and playoffs, 30-20, and tonight qualified as a clutch game. It was within 5 points with 5 minutes or less. 4-0 now in the playoffs, 1-0 in the play. So the Warriors have won all 5 of the Warriors' wins since the end of the regular season. All 5 5-0 clutch in the playoffs are the Warriors. The 3 losses are blowouts. And so the Warriors, they were 16-16. Now they are 30-20. So the Warriors with Jimmy Butler, 14-4 playoffs, play-in, and regular season. 14-4 in clutch games. And with Jimmy actually playing, they're 13-3 in clutch games. So he has made a world of difference. Warriors held the Rockets to 89. Under 90 for the second time in the series. They also did it at the other game they won at Toyota Center. 7 turnovers for the Warriors. The last time they had that few, get this, go figure. Last time the Warriors had that few, Game 7 against the Kings. On April 30, they had 7 in April 30th, 2023. Buttoned up, fewest turnovers in franchise history, Game 1 of the finals. We talked about Buddy Hield, Jimmy with 20, Steph with some big shots down the stretch, and Draymond 2 3-pointers. Warriors 163-38 all time in the playoffs when Draymond makes multiple 3-pointers. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Kyle Haar, for Ryan McCarthy, for Greg Silver, for everybody in the chat, for everybody who called in early and in the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you Tuesday, Game 1, Warriors and Timberwolves, and we are all over it. KNBR 104.5 as the Warriors get the win, 103-89. And we are talking about it all for the next couple of weeks on the Sports Leader. Good night.
Last shot of the first quarter. It's in. Buddy Hield delivers a big one at the end of the first quarter. And the Warriors go up 4 as Buddy Hield pours one in from 42 feet.
Emirates Cup or bust.
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you got to start off liking each other.
I'm super cereal.
Big fat dub.
Ain't nobody going to stop me.
I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not. But great win.
Who are these guys?
I love you, JD. Bye, sugar.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
Jimmy freaking Butler put
Obviously, I'm shooting the ball well. It's pretty obvious.
Batman comes out of nowhere. You never see him coming, then he just falls from the sky, from a building, behind the door. And everything's gonna be all right.